Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Hagee. I'm the Executive Director here with the Electrical Association of Philadelphia. It's nice to see so many familiar names in the chat feature here. Joining me today is my colleague, Matt Dybert, as well as our presenter, George Wicks from Cummins Generators. A special thanks goes out to our sponsor today, Billows Electric Supply, for their generous sponsorship of this and many sessions that we've had in the past, as well as coming up. A few notes, of course, before we get started, and forgive me if you've been to our virtual trade talks before, you've heard this numerous times, but as you can see, your mics and your cameras have been turned off, and that is, of course, because we are recording this event. For questions, we are going to ask that you use the chat feature to submit any questions that you have. We're going to go ahead and facilitate those at the end of our session. So with that, it is now my pleasure to welcome our presenter from Cummins Electric, George Wicks, who is a territory manager for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland. He's been working with Cummins Generators since 1997 and is excited to talk generators today. So with that, take it away, George.
Thanks, Sarah and Matt and my friends at Billows. Yep, that's right. So I'll be with Cummins for 24 years this December in pretty much the same role. Home standby, small commercial standby, so maybe 150 kilowatts and down, liquid cooled products, air cooled products, portable generators. So today I want to kind of review on a high level and go over basically the full product line that Cummins offers from the smallest portable all the way up to our 150 kilowatt, which is, we're talking about banks and high schools and more commercial grade power. But primarily, I guess we'll focus on the residential stuff. The residential market for Cummins and all other manufacturers and homeowners has been peaking more than Superstorm Sandy did. I was around Y2K, and the pandemic has affected sales that I guess most of us didn't predict. Forecasters couldn't predict it. People were working from home, schooling from home. And everyone involved in generator sales has been getting requests. It's difficult to keep up with the supply chain, so we can talk about all that as well, affecting lead times that I've never seen in the 22 years I've been here first. So first things first is when Cummins introduced our current air-cooled product line, very exciting. We needed a bad change to our previous models. People today are on the internet, they're remote monitoring. They want phone apps to control their generators. They want heaters on board standard. They want bigger product offerings, more kilowatt ranges. So the factory brought all the reps out to Minnesota and introduced this in a pretty cool, exciting video. They darkened all the lights, and they had big DJ speakers launching the video. So I'm going to play that, and it's good. I do this in front of any other representatives when I'm at their offices, running on monitors, so they can sort of see and hear factory engineers talk about the products. They get images of the factory building, so it's really good, really well put together. It's about 5 minutes, so I'm going to let it roll. You're going to need some audio to hear. So let's play that, and I'll be back in 5 minutes when it's over.
Hi, I'm Mark Westfall, Chief Technical Project Leader for the new product line. Cummins Power Generation is known for reliable products that power hospitals, data centers, and other critical applications. When you need reliable power systems, you look to Cummins. We make the best products out there, and we are always working to make them better. We conducted hundreds of interviews with end users and channel partners. We analyzed this data carefully and created design requirements. Given the nature of these requirements, we knew minor tweaks to our current products and processes would not be enough. We needed something radical.
We are offering a complete range of 13 to 20 kilowatt products along with a suite of accessories for our dealers to make installation very easy.
They're going to like the new look and aesthetics. It could look like other appliances that you have, may it be air conditioners or heat pumps, whatever the case may be.
This product can also be installed as close as 18 inches away from a house as long as it meets certain requirements. We are also quite excited to offer the Cummins Connect Cloud.
The remote monitoring software allows you to start, stop, and control your genset from anywhere around the globe. This allows a customer to control when the genset is running as opposed to just letting it run continuously, which can add up to several hundreds of dollars in fuel savings over the course of an extended outage.
And our dealers and service teams benefit because now they have access and visibility to our customers' generator sets for service, for monitoring, for exercising. They're able to travel out to our customers more prepared, understand what issues are going on at the customer site, reducing the number of trips and overall repair time.
So this is the Acoustical Technology Center, which is one of the largest one in the world. This is the facility for the acoustic noise measurement. The product was totally designed, developed, and the acoustical noise control techniques were implemented over here. Getting the low noise levels and the good sound quality with this compact footprint was a challenge, and ultimately we achieved that. We designed the components in a way that if the sound reaches inside the home, whatever is detected inside is not annoying at all, actually. Based on the data that we evaluated and the testing that we have conducted, we can proudly say that this is one of the quietest one. And ultimately, I think we are contributing towards reducing the total noise levels in this world.
Cummins generators are one of the quietest in their class. Utilizing the crank-only exercise feature makes them even quieter because now we only have 5 seconds worth of engine cranking as opposed to full-speed genset operation that typically may last up to 30 minutes. The neat thing about this is it allows the customer to save on fuel costs, reduce wear and tear on their genset, and reduce neighborhood noise. Our new load management system is really enhanced and superior to what the competition offers. We have 4 discrete loads that we're able to control and prioritize. And what separates our load management function from the competition is it's very intelligent and adaptive. We actually measure the amount of load or current that each discrete circuit draws, and we can make much more intelligent decisions about when to enable and disable those loads.
Channel partners told us that customers wanted this generator set to be able to start in cold weather. So we've done a lot of extensive testing and also have checked this with some external labs, been in cold cells, and have done a lot of testing here at our facility in Minnesota.
These products are designed to integrate with the RA series of automatic transfer switches, which are service entrance rated and easy to hook up. For us to be successful, we needed to partner with the best dealers out there. We are proud of all our channel partners and their shared commitment to growing the business. Combination of world-class product along with world-class service and support means that homeowners can count on us to keep them safe and comfortable.
So that gives a little bit of an overview of that's the residential air-cooled product line. And one more fast, this is a commercial that Cummins put together, and then I'll get into my presentation where I'm going to get a little more detailed into into the different models and features and products to what you guys may be familiar with seeing. So this is a commercial that Cummins developed, and it's animated. It's only 30 seconds. Pretty good. Just shows the different markets that we're in and what Cummins does very, very well. And then, of course, hits on the homeowner. So I believe they run this more on social media, some Instagram accounts. So it's out there.
For nearly a century, Cummins has been there to back you up through life's most powerful moments. The moments that change lives. The amazing moments and the not so amazing moments. We're there when you work and there when you're not working. We're there for the fishing and for the catch. For nearly 100 years, Cummins has built some of the world's most trusted, powerful engines and generators. And we've brought that same innovative design and engineering home with our Connect Series home standby generator. With its compact design, this generator easily blends into your landscape. And with its extremely quiet operation thanks to patented sound technology, your neighbors will hardly know it's there, generating peace of mind and enough power to back up your home when outages strike. And with our easy-to-use remote monitoring, you can control your generator from anywhere, making sure you don't miss any of life's most powerful moments. Sign up for your free in-home assessment at powertohomes.com. Cummins, powering your life.
All right, great. So I'm going to bounce over to a little bit of a presentation now and get into some more specifics and details on the product lines. So first, a little bit of history here. So Cummins is over 100 years now. I think it was founded in 1919 by Clessie Cummins out of Indiana. And that's actually where the main Cummins corporate headquarters are, manufacturing plants are for most of the highway engines, the engine that's in the Dodge Ram, transit bus business. And you can see some of the history here is what Cummins did way back when we had black and white photos, and some of the bus business and even a passenger car. And so on the other side of the business is the generators. And actually, I talked a little bit too forward there. So this is the little single cylinder that they put together for a shrimping boat in 1920. So getting into the generators in 1920. So Onan is probably the name for, if I'm talking to electrical contractors who've been in the business, they're familiar with the name Onan. When I started, they were Onan generators in 1997. So this VW Onan goes all the way back to where he developed this first little 10 light, because it ran 10 110 volt lights as his first little portable generator. It was first introduced here way back in the 1920s. And so all through the years, what Cummins would ship Onan Corporation their diesel gen sets for their large standby industrial gen sets. So they already had a large, deep background and relationship. And in the 80s and the 90s, they came together, and Cummins acquired Onan and started changing the name to Cummins Power Generation, Cummins/Onan, depending on the product line, to today where we are based. We are Cummins. The Onan name only exists in the RV business, the marine business, and maybe the fire business. But it's pretty much becoming Cummins now. So Cummins is what's on the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, a $20 billion company, very global. A lot of business in Asia and Europe, as you can imagine. The diesel engine business, that's as large there as it is in North America. So that's the Cummins diesel business, and some of the other markets that they're into that you guys may know of course, the RV bus, the transit bus business, fire and emergency, on the fire truck, at the fire station. And this is the generator manufacturing facility in Fridley, Minnesota. Pretty impressive being there. I've been there several times. The immaculate floor, large facility where they build the little RV generators to the big megawatt units that are standing outside of Vanguard Corporation, the Comcast Tower downtown. Pretty impressive facility. Take a tour through. So getting into the products a little bit more detailed. So starting with the small guys, Cummins had, Onan actually had runs of portable generators into the market over the years. And it's a tough market. It's Home Depots and Lowe's and Pep Boys and Ace Hardware stores and you name it. They've got little portable generators, mostly on the small side. So Cummins partnered with Westinghouse, that you guys may or may not be familiar with, and we're introducing the small 2500, 4500, and 9500. As for now, they're talking about expanding the line. The first two are gasoline. I'll get into the details a little bit more. They're inverter series, so they're super quiet operation. They work really well with RV towable trailers. As you can see, some lunch truck trailers were sent in RV where sound quality is first priority. They're encased in a small enclosure. They're easy to move around. But portables are needed for home use as well. Contractors use them on site. Anywhere basically portable power is needed. So they're loaded with features. I've heard them all run. You're standing right on top of the 4500 and 2500 and having a conversation. So the 2500 is more for the tailgaters that really just want to run a television, maybe an RV towable, but extremely quiet. These meet all the RV park standards for noise level. Loaded with features, with LEDs, little screens that give you feedback on battery voltage, USB ports for charging little devices. And getting into the 4500 now. So this is kind of a dual RV camper slash maybe home standby where sound level, they're going to pay a little bit more for the 4500, but it has sound levels that an open frame portable can't achieve. So again, this thing is fully loaded with all kinds of bells and whistles and outlets and ports, and comes with a little charger, wall charger to charge it up because it does have a push button start, as well as this open frame 9500. So this is more of a homeowner standby backup where you need more power. You're going to be running some more appliances, whether it's hardwired in through your home with a manual transfer switch, or we're just plugging in some devices through outlets. That's also available, or contractors use them. You're talking 9500 peak, 7500 running watts on gas, so 40 amps of power. So it'll run all kinds of power tools, and comes with the wheel kits, excellent fuel tank on board. So pretty much in the package itself, it's ready to start up and go, with it once it's fueled up. So we're happy to have the portables. Our Billows is doing a great job of keeping them in their stores and in-house and ready to ship. So graduating up to the next size generator. So now we're talking residential standby, and kind of what the videos we're talking about, the 13 to the 17 to the 20 kilowatts. So these are standby, 2-cylinder, air cooled. We're all familiar with what Home Depot and Lowe's offer. So Cummins wants to set itself apart and offer not so much of a base for no frills kind of a unit. Our unit has the features and options built in that homeowners want, and if it's explained to what the Cummins unit is going to be providing and what it can do, and offer them as far as features. I'll get into each one of those a little bit more. The homeowners should select the Cummins when they understand the value that they're getting, along with the traditional dependability of a Cummins built product. And if you guys have seen or have not seen one, that's the first thing I hear when contractors are used to other brands and they open the hood up and they look around and they see the quality of the construction. They see the thickness of the enclosure, the amount of sound level deadening material that's built in, the baffling internals that moves the air around to help reduce the noise. And those are all the things that cost money to the base unit, opposed to just putting a 2-cylinder and an alternator and putting the metal enclosure on it. So there's a lot of thought, design, and engineering that goes into it. And I'll get into the features a little bit more. And again, these are all built in Minnesota. So it's a smaller footprint than our partners at down at Home Depot and Lowe's, where they're more rectangular. This is more of a square cube style. It's about 3 foot square. So it does look like my air conditioners that are about the same footprint. So one of the nice features is if it's going on the side of the house next to an air conditioner, there's no, and our 18-inch clearance, which does pass the NFPA 37 rated, that it can be installed 18 inches on this closed end, not the open ends for the air in and air out. But to pass a fire test, it has to withstand a fire within itself for about an hour, and this unit does that. And so you don't need to bump out the unit further away from the house. It kind of goes in line with the air conditioning systems already there, because their clearances are pretty short as well. So there's a model. I think that's a Costco picture. That's a Honeywell. We all know who the Honeywell brand is after, and you can sort of see how short our unit is. Works real well without the elongated rectangular type footprint. And they're packaged like this. This slide was in here. It just kind of shows how it's shipped. So it's packed real well. Very little damage. There's wood vertical members at the corners to help support where you can stack them. I think the stacking's 2 high, not 3 high. I think they changed that. That's how they're shipped. And so we're going to get a little more technical about the internals of it. So the cooling airflow, if you excuse me, if you picture the airflow being parallel to the side of the house, that's where the closed sealed end can be 18 inches to a combustible material, whether it's vinyl siding or not, or stucco or stone or cedar. If our airflow is moving parallel to the side of the home, we're basically breezing it in the front end there and then blowing it out the end. We got that 18-inch clearance, and you can sort of see how the arrows of the baffling internal, how it takes the cooling air into the front, moves it over the alternator in the engine, and then blows it out the back end. So it's pretty simplistic when you put it down, but good thought going into it. Ours has a 999 cc engine, which is a pretty large 2-cylinder engine, would be large on a motorcycle. And that's pretty much what all of our partners have. Partners, not the word. Competitors have on their 20 kilowatt air cooled. And there are some guys uprating them, calling them with 22s, 24s, 26s with the same basic 999 cc engine. So there's some ratings going on there. You guys may or may not have been asked about how the ratings go, and there is some talk about maybe rating it, but Cummins was always a conservative rating company. They want to see certain performance at certain elevations, temperature ranges, for duration of maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. They want to see that before they're comfortable putting a rating on a unit. So just some basic internals there. The alternator is a Class H insulation alternator. That's kind of technical we see in the industrial world, more insulation levels and classes. So it just has to do with the amount of copper windings, the temperature rise that it's rated at and can do. One nice feature is that our units have a standard alternator heater built in every single unit out the floor that starts to 0. That's something that Mark mentioned in the video. And that was critical because we are all over the country. We're in Canada and Wisconsin. For our region here, that's pretty much the most popular unit that we sell, starting down to 0 right out of the box. So there's an image of the base there. They kind of see where the battery goes. So that's the front of the unit. It has lifting holes for lifting it up. Fuel system here, pretty much 3/4 inch standard fuel inlet on the corner there. Pretty standard for a generator in this size range. They work on tuning the mufflers to get the sound down, because it is difficult. The 2-cylinder air-cooled engine is going to make some noise. So a lot of work goes into keeping this quiet, and that is the number one thing over the other guys. It's the sound level that the Cummins achieves. Homeowners don't know that when they're out there signing off and agreeing. They don't know it till the generator fires up and they hear it run for the first time. So we try to emphasize the sound level, the engineering and efforts that go into keeping this generators quiet. And it's not just the air cooled, but it's all Cummins products. in the standby gen. So they all come with a 100 amp breaker, battery charger built into the generator. So different from Generac is we need a 120 volt circuit run out to our unit. Without that, the battery charger is not going to power and backfeed that battery. And in a month's time or 2 months time, the generator is going to be dead. So that's one of the things that we see the guys are used to. The other brands that don't have those features on board the generator, that 120 volt circuit powers both the battery charger and the onboard heater. So it's a nice feature, but we have to have that wired up and powered up. So looking at, when you open up the hood, that's what you see. The display sits there right in front of you, gives you all the pertinent information, and where the homeowners can go in, or the installers can go in and configure, make some adjustments and changes to the time of day, the exercise time. They're going to see their battery voltage. They'll have all green lights showing utility is connected and utility present. Any faults, readouts, they've got red indicator lights, that something has to be addressed. It didn't run, or the battery went dead, or we got a low fuel situation, or fuel pressure, something. But everything was designed for maintenance and service as well. It's real easy to get to. They give you a little oil drain flex to drain the oil once a year. Easy checks there and access for all that good stuff. Getting into some of the installation that was talked about in the video, and that was an important improvement from our previous models that were plastic and fiberglass, where they didn't meet the EPA 18-inch clearance, and we were required for about a 5-foot clearance of that unit on all sides. So this one, being all aluminum and steel, passes that fire test. So on the sealed sides there, you can see we have an 18-inch clearance, and that was the parallel airflow I was talking about. We don't want to rotate the unit to where it's either breathing air in directly from the house side or discharging the hot air towards the house, because you're going to get into carbon monoxide buildup. These houses are pressurized so tightly that when their systems run, they seem to suck air into anywhere it can, and our CO coming off our units can trickle in through some of those air gaps. So the 3/4 inch fitting we mentioned, pretty basic for a 20 kilowatt generator. And the electrical output's pretty simple with 3 output leads in your grounds. That's common for any 20 kW. Our 20 amp 120 volt circuit from the house is required, and you're only talking 3 low voltage wires from the gen to the transfer switch. That's it. With if there are other options that are available that would require more wiring, but that is the basic setup. And the transfer switches that work with these are our RA series. They work with all of our liquid cooled models all the way to 100 kilowatts. So it's one transfer switch, 100, 200, 400 amp. Easy to stock them, easy to sell them. Installation and wiring is identical. And they will work with, that's just a 2-wire start. Any 2-wire start transfer switch out there will work with these generators. So the generator can basically be replaced without the switch gear on the wall being replaced. So they wanted to do that, make sure that's a nice feature, because we do come across those old units that need to be replaced, but not the wiring and the switches. So the crank only exercise is a neat feature that was also mentioned in the video. We have a couple customers that call in and say their generator's not running, and when I get that call, I tell them to go, please grab your operator's manual and turn to page 16, and we're going to talk about an environmentally friendly option that's built into your generator, that it's still going to run the checks. We're going to read voltages and coming off the alternators and batteries and sense what's going on with fuel. But what we're not going to do is actually run the engine. And we're saving you on noise in a neighborhood, fuel, hours on the units, extending maintenance intervals. The factory design engineers are saying run this thing full every 2 weeks. And that's enough of engineering, and that's how the alternator and fuel system are kind of built together, where it doesn't need the weekly exercising for a typical liquid cooled unit that would be, at a data center or a surgical center, something like that. And this actually has 3 weeks and 4 week exercise cycles. Personally, I have mine at 2 weeks, and I think that's what I recommend for guys. But engines are changing and fuel systems are changing. We don't have to get into some of the control features, but one of the things we talked about in the video was load management, and everybody is load managing today. 15 years ago, it wasn't really talked about. We went with dedicated home circuits. Smaller generators doing fractions of homes. Maybe we're just going to talk about heating systems, sump pumps, and garage door openers, and let's do a 20 kilowatt on that 400 amp service. So today we're load managing loads in the home. So we're going with a service entrance transfer switch in front of the entire panel in the home. And we're going to have the generator feed the entire panel. And what we're going to do is at startup of a power outage, we're going to have the generator control turn off large loads. What if it's a second air conditioner or a third air conditioner, a double oven, electric dryer, electric oven, anything that's kind of deemed. So we got 4 of them. So they prioritize 1, 2, 3, 4. So the system's going to turn them off and then signal each one to start 3 minutes later if certain conditions are met. So he talked about how it's adaptive. What it learns over time, load 1 is air conditioner 1. If it needs 6 kilowatt to start that, it's going to see its percent load. And if it's running at 80%, it's not going to bring number 1 on. If it's running at 20%, it's going to go ahead and start number 1. And from the same history, it learned about 2, 3, and 4 and how much it stepped up each time one of those guys turned on. So it's going to try to bring them on in sequence. I think up until like 90% load. So it'll keep adding loads and 90% load. So if the homeowner is running near full load and he has a pretty large house, a lot of those load managed devices aren't going to turn on. And a situation like that might be more of a larger machine. But we know that the homeowner budget is going to dictate what generator is going to be at that house. That's the number one factor involved here when you're talking about sizing a generator for residential. So this is just some pictures of the transfer switches. We do have this is an integrated transfer switch that has breakers built into it for that 400 amp service using a dedicated circuit setup. So we're not going to do the whole home. We're going to install this 100 amp transfer switch and built in 24 different bays for breakers that are predetermined coming off the main. So we'll leave back the laundry, the basement, the pool house, and we're just going to run in what they considered essential, maybe 10, 15 essential circuits. We don't see a lot of that. More with our smaller, like a 13 kilowatt, I think, because then you're talking about true cost savings. When these models all have a similar footprint, you're still talking about a couple of days of an installation. So there's not the cost savings is really in just the equipment, because everything involved with the installation, the fuel, the pad work, any landscaping, that's all still there. So the other option is cold weather heater kits. So an additional oil-based heater and a battery heater is considered an extreme cold weather kit. So now we're talking about -20, -30 spec. We do have homeowners that want that. They go outside in the winter and they feel 10-degree chill air or 15 degrees in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey here. And when it comes January, ooh, that's cold for my generator. Yeah, it's for you, it is cold, but for an engine made with metal and oil and air cooled, it's going to run and it's going to start with the standard heater. But we do have the extra accessories, and it could be argued, and I have that it could extend the overall life expectancy of our generator with having an oil-based heater in there warming that engine block throughout its entire life expectancy and all those cold winter starts. So it's a nice feature to offer. And we also offer a precast concrete pad. You can see it just sitting here. If the ground is level, grade is level, stone work, our pad works real nice. We got about a 1-inch overhang, 3 inches thick, about 155 pounds. I would say 50% of the air-cooled models we sell use our pad. Guys are more than welcome to pour their own pad, especially if we're not in level grade. And they're going to need to bring up the one end up a little bit higher. You obviously can't use something that's precast. Guys also use EP Henry stonework, asphalt. I've also seen them putting on parking lots or macadam garage floors. Anything firm and solid that's not going to go anywhere. So we do offer a remote in-home display kit, which is nice. So it duplicates the display in the generator and puts it in the laundry room, foyer, dining room, near the security system panels. Wherever the homeowner is going to see it, I walk by mine and I see green lights, and I keep on going. If I see a red light, I got to stop and figure out what's going on. So it's nice to have that feature right there where they see it every day. And of course, maintenance kits, oil filters, air filters, all these gen sets, every gen set needs to be maintained properly to get a full life out of it. So the big feature, one of the big features added to these new air-cooled models, our older ones didn't have, designed over probably 12 years ago now. So the internet and emailing has been changing over the years, and we needed a refresh on our system. So this generator, all the air-cooled generators have built-in remote monitoring via the internet. That is how easy to install it, an Ethernet connection from the genset port to the available port in the home router. That's it. Once that's done, and it has to be done at install, to come back and do that could be costly, and running wires through conduit, existing conduit, we all know how that can run. But once that's done, mechanically, that's the only setup needed. And then the homeowner's going to, now their generator's online, they're going to go and follow instructions in their manual, follow to connectcloud.com, cumminsconnectcloud.com, and it will sense the generator's connected. It's going to ask them for some basic information off the generator screen, serial number and an access code. And just like registering for Amazon or PayPal, their name and address, and then we're going to know what generator is at their house. And to go one step further, then they're going to take that same username and password that they just set up and go download the Connect Cloud app. I have it downloaded on my phone as a demo, but they will be able to use their username and sign in. And now they're going to receive push pin notifications. They're going to see my generator just started. So when he's out in California, he can call back and say, the power just ran out. I guess got a notification that our generator system is on. And he can if they're all away on vacation and the generator's running for an hour, he can stop the generator. He can start the generator. So it has some basic controls, not as advanced as some of our commercial remote monitoring systems are, but it is free on every unit. I just have to follow the manuals on how to set it up, and they'll be able to have control and view what's going on with their genset. And if there's ever any faults, they can also do that. And the dealers have options to our setup dealers that are trained and certified. They have their monitoring apps where they monitor their generators that are in the field. They have maps of the territories around Philadelphia or New Jersey, and they have little green pins of every homeowner site. And if one of them goes red, they're going to see a push notification about Mrs. Jones's generator just faulted. So the communication that we didn't have in the past is allowing our service network dealers visibility on the generators. We see what's wrong with them, what happened to them, if they need to be addressed, maybe even during an exercise cycle. So it wasn't actually a power outage. So it gives us the ability to get out there before the generator is actually needed. So just some basic brand recognition that Cummins brings. I talked about the Dodge Ram engine, now into the Nissan trucks. Cummins is very big in the marine market. So any boat owners out there and RV owners are familiar with the Cummins and Onan name, the history and the tradition. The guys that know it, they don't want any other generator in my house. It's going to be an Onan, it's going to be a Cummins. So leaning on that brand recognition, some case studies I was talking about, there's a row of them off 202, the Vanguard Corporation, the huge finance and retirement. They're down near Malvern, I believe. There's two 750 kilowatt generators standing on the 17th floor at the new Comcast skyscraper downtown. Doylestown Hospital has a row of them. These are all serviced by our Philadelphia distribution center out of Bristol, PA, which is where I started. They have probably 8 to 10 technicians in vans, and they roam firehouses, school districts, data centers, and homes, taking care of generators that need maintenance or have any kind of faults. So Cummins is here locally to stand by all the generators in our market here. So warranties, 5-year warranty on the air-cooled units, which is pretty good. It's the first 2 years includes parts and travel and labor. Years 3, 4, and 5 is parts coverage only. So that's the standard warranty on our air-cooled models. There are extended warranties available. Homeowners ask about that. So we do have a 5-year for all comprehensive inclusive, as well as a 7-year and a 10-year. So different pricing available if the homeowner is interested in extended warranty. So that's what she looks like installed. It looks a little closer than 18 inches if you ask me, but that's probably just a demo. But that's the new air-cooled model. So next step is let's talk about bigger units. These are now liquid cooled. So we're talking about more commercial than we are talking about residential. Although we do have homeowners that have homes in our area that are mainline, Washington's Crossing, areas of Chester County. You talk about it, the homes are 5,000, 10,000 square feet. They have 400, 600 amp services, and they have multiple air conditioners and zones of multiple refrigerators and freezers, and they just need more power. Or an air cooled unit is not going to cut it for them. That's just going to maybe run their heat, their sump pumps, but they need more power, and they are in the areas of where homeowners have bigger homes and bigger budgets and willing to spend. It could be $20,000-$30,000 systems by the time it's done. But most of these models are more commercial. They're going into replacements for high schools, firehouses that have units from the 90s or 80s. We see them from the 70s that are still making voltage. It blows me away the life expectancy of an 1800 RPM liquid cooled generator. When I hear stories, they want to replace this. Well, what's the serial number? How old is it? And 1984 with buku hours on it, and she still makes voltage or not. Whatever the reason is, if the alternator went down. So replacement is what they're looking for. Something newer, something quieter, something more advanced with some of the monitoring setups. So. Let's tap into the liquid cooleds a little bit. Just skipping over, obviously, we want to talk about the low exercise hours, the low emissions. So everything today is meeting all the EPA standards as they're ever changing. So are we, and our units are. The exhaust coming off them is nicer than it was many years ago. So we'll keep keeping up with the EPA as they keep coming out with new regulations on standby generators. And these are all standard starting down to zero. They have a coolant heater on them for the block heater. So they also need the 120 volt circuit out, and they also have battery chargers built into them. Full line of transfer switches, meaning that little RA residential series is single phase only. A lot of the stocking dealers, Billows has a lot of these transfer switches on their shelves, and they work with our units, single phase. The other version is our OTEC. These are the green Cummins Onan transfer switches that have been around for eons. They're LTs, OTs, going all the way back, basically a really tried and true industrial transfer switch with lots and lots of withstand and closure ratings. Excellent heavy contactors inside. So we're using these in treatment plants, pump stations, any kind of three-phase environment. So the little liquid cooleds are all powered. They all have this aluminum sandstone enclosure. We call it our level 1 sound enclosure. So we are extremely quiet. The engine is a little 2.4 liter, which is very quiet, even with the doors open. So there's a lot of sound foam packed into the doors here. These are our stores, larger homes, that small offices, dental offices, medical offices that can run with a 40, 60 kilowatt three-phase. And it's going to sit outside and kind of wants to blend in with the building. And these units do that with a nice sandstone enclosure. The one thing I should mention is that level 2 kit that you see, that's covering the intake. That's a little option that can be added. It does reduce the sound a little bit. But overall, the decibel levels are pretty quiet on these enclosures. If we're running in the low 60s, and that's at 23 feet away. If you saw the acoustical center, they were setting up microphones. They run 8 microphones around the unit, 45 degree increments. So we're picking up the average of those 8 microphones at 23 feet apart at full load. So in the fine print of a lot of our competitors, they're not going to tell you that. They might be running at a rated load or a half load, or even a no load. Our commercial liquid cooled generators are rated at full load sound. And that's the 2.4 liter I was just talking about. Extremely quiet. extremely durable. These liquid cooled were introduced with this engine in 2013, 2014. And the 1800 RPM is just a true lifelong life expectancy generator. And that doesn't mean much to you guys, but when we built these, they used the same Cummins CA series 1800 RPM that we've had in our product line for decades. There's the 120-degree temperature rise. So in the fine print, some guys are 130, some guys are 150. So that's how an alternator gets rated at full load capability at what maximum temperature. So just an overall look at a unit there and how quiet the operation is. Their airflow is moving from the intake on the left, discharging out the roof on the right-hand side there. It does achieve 150-mile-per-hour wind test. It's more of all the edges are sort of rounded, as you can see that, so it kind of meets that test. So that is the 25 to the 40 kilowatt enclosure and platform. So now getting larger, we're going to step up the chassis size, the enclosure size, and the kilowatt ranges. So now we're moving into 45 to 100 kilowatt. More larger buildings, a larger school is going to need 80 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt. We're getting pretty rare now for residential. They are single phase here, you can see, but also 243 phase, 208 3-phase, 480 3-phase, just in a larger platform than the little 2.4 liter had. This has a 5.9 liter, the Cummins B series engine. So this B series engine block was built by the thousands for Dodge Ram. In one of the earlier engine offerings was the 5.9 liter. I think they use a little bit different, bigger block right now today, but this is converted to natural gas or propane, but it's that 6-cylinder block. So you're talking about a lot of motor starting capability where you can throw in a ping pong ball and an elephant is kind of thing. So even at our 50, 60, 80, and 100 and 125 all take this same engine. So a lot of horsepower, motor starting capability. It's a heavier machine. These are the 2.4 averages around 1,100 pounds. So this one's coming in around 3,000 pounds. So it's just overall heavier alternators, heavier engines. As you're getting into bigger, more commercial grade power. And that's the same. You see alternators. We were talking about PMG as an option, which is an excitation boost system. That's more into our engineered specs. We don't see a whole lot of that when we're talking about replacing existing units. That's just more of a industrial engine specification for engineers that write in for when they get the right in specs. So we're all aluminum, durable, sound level 1 with these guys make a little bit more noise than the 2.4 to respect the sound level of that 2.4. But you're making power. You need a lot of power. You need a lot of horsepower, and you're going to move a lot of air to do that, to keep that engine cool and be able to produce that kind of alternator power. But easy side access, open all the doors, and our guys are accessing the engines for oil drains and maintenance and service and installation. And a fleet of accessories with these guys as well. If they want to start going lower than our 0-degree rating and they want to add larger coolant heaters, oil heaters, larger battery racks that it can accommodate 2 back-to-back batteries, maybe deep cell batteries, that gives them the extreme cold weather temperature starting. So we're getting a little bit more rare, but diesel, we talked about that as to what Cummins was great about from the get-go in the early days. Today we have diesels that are at wastewater treatment plants that are off the beat where there's no natural gas service, or commercial buildings that have fuel tanks that they use for their trucks and vehicles. So diesel could be a preferred fuel. Residential a little bit, if it's a guy that owns a farm and he takes his Cheerios with diesel fuel, we can accommodate him with a diesel. He doesn't want propane on his property. He doesn't have natural gas. So when you get into Chester County, Bucks County, a little bit further out west, areas in Jersey where there's a lot of just open trees and they don't have their natural gas, we can do the diesels. We use a little Kubota in our 10 to 20 kilowatt, and then 25, 30, 35, and 40 kilowatt have the little Cummins 3.3 liter. These are super quiet. They make very little noise. But all these liquid cooled are going to have a price tag with them, and the diesels are going to be even more of a premium. You're just talking about the most industrial engines out there that they just continue to run their rockets and bulletproof, so the nicknames they get at the factory, with basically the same alternators, same enclosures we were just talking about. And then getting into the larger diesels. So these are the same platform and engines, or I'm sorry, enclosures that the natural gas models have, with a basic diesel engine on board. So they're using the QSB. So that's a larger 4-cylinder than the little 3.3 liter. But the ISB series engine is one of the Cummins' flagship products. They have the ISC, the ISX. When you're talking about, what's the tractor trailer type engines that are the real big 6-cylinder blocks. So these are some of the smaller guys, but still probably some of the most industrial engines in the world. Fuel tanks are available, 24-hour tanks, 48-hour tanks. These aren't day tanks, but they're meant to be standalone sub-base tanks. They come with little fuel gauges on them, and the generator sits on top. Sitting on it. These are all concrete pad, poured in place type installations. So yeah, like I said before, it's all same controls, same transfer switches. So it's easy to take switches off the shelf there that we already have in stock and have them work directly with the controls on the generators. And that's just some of the transfer switch talk. Again, the gray is our single phase only, working with a little air cooled and liquid cooled, but single phase only. And the OTEC series is one of the longest running built transfer switches out there, but all commercial power 3-phase. Mentioned something a little bit about the wind enclosures. This is the acoustical center at our factory in Minnesota, second largest in the world. They test military, government, where they come in, they yellow tape the building off, and it's all shut down, and they take over, and they run their tractor trailers, their rentals. It's pretty impressive. So Cummins does all of our little air-cooled units you saw, little RV models, all the way up to our big stationary standby. When you walk into this building, you lose your equilibrium a little bit because it's all in your ears. There is no ambient noise in these buildings. It's stacked with pyramids that have tiny little holes in them, golf ball size, no, even pencil size holes. Let's say that billions and billions of pencil size holes with sound acoustical material built into each one of these little pyramids that are scattered on the walls and the ceiling. So all the frequencies that are coming off our voices, coming off any kind of machine, they basically hit those walls and stop. So there's no reflection, there's no added noise. There's all the microphones I was just talking about. The presentation's kind of skipping forward on me here. But that's how serious and sound that Cummins and Onan have always been. We used to test these out in the field before this acoustical center was built. So you can see the unit there getting tested. The exhaust is getting pushed out. So we're really only hearing that those microphones are picking up the unit's sound. No reflections or reverberations bouncing off any walls for added noise. So we're getting a true accurate measurement of full load. So yeah, it's quite a unit. There have been people that have walked into that room where they have to walk out. When their ears and they hit that they're off balance. So it's a little bit of a unique building, but it's a great building to tour if we're ever out there with us. And here are some of the accessories that are available on all of these liquid cooled models that make life easier for installation. If they want added heaters, they want remote monitors, they want auxiliary contacts for operating relays or elevator systems, e-stops, of course, getting more and more popular. In our codes, 3 circuit breaker bays in these models, and that's the picture of the control that's on the little 2.4 all the way up to 100 kilowatt. So it's the same control. Guys are familiar with them. They understand all the lighting and how to navigate through the menus, change settings. It was nice to have one control on all these units. So that is the end of my little spiel there on our products. So I don't know if I ran over time or everyone fell asleep.
No, we've got quite a few people still with us. Matt, I think we had a couple questions come in early. I'm not sure if George hit all of the points.
Yeah, we'll definitely address them. I know one was about the warranty, and George did address that earlier. So the question is, I have a question on the nameplate rating of the generators. Be specific, the continuous ampere rating. Is the listed ampere rating on the nameplate the maximum continuous amperes the generator can safely deliver?
Okay, so if we're talking about air cooled, it gets a 20 kilowatt rating. So that's 20 kilowatts. It derates to 18 on natural gas, and that's a continuous rating. I talked about the conservative rating that Cummins does in their units. They want to see that full load for 2 hours. They bring in their warranty teams, their legal teams, and when they put warranties on generators, they want to see the full nameplate rating. The altitude, that's Minnesota. I think they run at 85 degrees. So that's a continuous 20 kilowatt. There has been talk, because our competitors are coming out with the same 999 cc engine. So it's the same fuel in, power out, but now they're claiming more power going out. And it's a ratings game. These units aren't up against what our fire truck ratings have to be for NFPA, what's sitting outside that hospital. So they go in the more stringent rating systems, where a generator sitting at Home Depot can have exclamation points of a surge or a max power, because they are in the consumer market. The talk about rating ours to 22, if it can do it for 30 minutes, if it can do it for an hour, does it really need to be 20 kilowatts for 2 full hours? So there's talk about that rating. I'm a fan of working with the ratings a little bit, considering that we are in the consumer market. This is not our industrial world and commercial world. So that's Cummins Power Generation. And it was always, I've always been in the consumer world and trying to get these guys to rate these units in the consumer world, because that's the market. That's what the homeowners are seeing. So there is talk about that, but the ratings that the units have right now are 20 kilowatts and 83 amps is their maximum.
So before we move forward, Matt, Ernie, I think you had a follow-up on this. You're actually unmuted now, so go ahead and follow up with George on your question.
Yeah, George, on the generators, on that ampacity, on particularly the more of the larger ones that deal with other than residential and all, we've had great debates on that article in the code book, article 445.12 on constant voltage generators and all. And what the issue becomes about the overcurrent protection that protects the generator. Your generators come with overcurrent protection based on the 20 kW. I think you said 100 amp circuit breaker comes with that one.
Yes.
and all of your generators, and you had a slide there that showed one generator set, more of a commercial or larger industrial, that had 3 circuit breakers there. Could you get that slide back? Yeah, that's the one. Right. Yep. What's the rating of those breakers?
So that's good. That's our picture of our 45 to 100 kW, the circuit breaker base. So they're going to have one breaker. The standard unit out of our factory is built to the voltage, whether it's 240 single phase, 208 3 phase, and it's going to have one main circuit breaker, and that's sized by the factory over the rating that the generator is rated at. So if our 100 kilowatt has a 350 amp capacity, the factory is going to oversize that breaker to maybe 400 amps.
Oh, so they use, or now they using that same standard that we do in the code book on Article 240.4 parentheses D that talks about up to 400 amps. You're allowed to rate up to the next highest size. Now it's not for generators, that section of the code book, but it's the concept is, for everything.
Yeah.
800
so that's going
amps
to
or less.
That breaker size is what dictates our wire size, correct?
Right.
So you guys have to adhere to that. So yeah, so with all the new controls and microprocessors controlling these generators, they're going to shut down before the breakers actually mechanically trip. If it's sensing maximum load, we're at the maximum fuel pressure now. where our frequency could start to fall off if
Because
we're
loss-
asking
because of-
more than the generator can provide. The computer is going to sense that frequency and it's going to shut the unit down before the breaker actually trips.
Right, and that's
So
because of frequency and all that, the loss of RPM due to the load being greater than what the prime mover, the engine can deliver and maintain 1800 RPMs for a 4-pole machine.
100%. 100%. So this picture shows these are options. So yeah, we can custom build generators that have 2 or 3 circuit breakers, and they can also be added in the field. There's square D breakers. Someone's familiar with running hardware mounting brackets and lead kits to the alternator. Not many guys that aren't familiar or trained in our equipment, but they can be added in the field.
Okay, but they can't, put it this way. If that nameplate that says 500 amps, then there's no way it can deliver, let's say, 800 amps without harming the generator, or the generator sensing and shutting you down anyway by inherent design.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. So that was one of my main, and those warning things would be temperature rise, loss of RPM below the, I guess, are y'all governed? First of all, you did say UL does have a spec for y'all to adhere to, right?
Oh yeah. What if it ships out of the manufacturer, it has to go through all the series of certification testing. You name the manufacturing eyes that see every screw and every element and component on this unit has to meet what UL is putting out there, and for all brands have to do that.
And when this amp rating is derived at, it's based on KW, not KVA.
Correct. Yeah, KVA, it's just, I believe, a factor of KW. So they're kind of used synonymously, but hearing more kilowatt being used more and more as time goes on than KVA. KVA may be something more in our engineered specs, or if an engineer wants to see some of that, it's just a different rating measurement.
Right. Well, because here's what the debate is. We as inspectors in the field want to know because we've seen some gen sets come out, and the gen sets ampere rating was one thing, and some had 2 breakers on the load terminals of the output terminals of the gen set that added up to 800 amps, and the generator was a 500 amp output generator.
Wow.
And then, and I'm saying the generator is not protected from overload by the breakers themselves, even though they might have some other internal devices, which would still satisfy the code as far as that Article 445.12 dealing with constant voltage generators, because it's your controls you're talking about that are inherent with the design of the machine. The machine was still shut down because that overload would drive it over temperature, loss of frequency control, all that type, all the above, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know how many faults there are, but there are so many sensors monitoring temperatures, frequencies, and voltages coming in and out of all the main touch points on the gen set. So it's
speed too. I think
very well protected. Oh yeah, our engine RPMs and the protections are incredible. So that the guys say that even the circuit breakers are almost redundant, not even needed on these newer machines. The computer is going to take over and before the breaker mechanically trips.
But then now you've got it installed a system though that's not reliable because the main breaker didn't trip, or they're getting away with undersized or oversized breakers and all, and the gen set can't deliver its total expected power.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, sir, I would like to ask a question. My name is Ralph Goldsboro, and what I wanted to ask you, and it was about the same article that Mr. Davis was discussing, and it's that article 445.12a, constant voltage generators, right? Because I've been out in the field for a long time, used to work for a major manufacturer, and matter of fact, the manufacturer was Square D. And a lot of times I would look at the generator and it would be rated 624 amps, but it would come equipped with an 800 amp circuit breaker, which would not prevent the generator from going into overload failure. But what I wanted to find out from you, like it says, the constant voltage generators, except AC generator exciters, shall be protected from overload by inherent design. So that inherent design, does that cover what you were discussing earlier, like maybe a computer would shut it down before it overheats, or it has some kind of internal overload before it even reaches that 800 amp circuit breaker?
Yes. So you are getting a little bit out of my realm, where our industrial guys do deal with engineered specs and some of the designs. But yeah, I do know that both our alternators have thermal shutdowns if they reach a certain threshold, separate from the coolant and the engine high temperature shutdown. This is inside the alternators. I do know that. And yeah, if it's sensing maximum capacity amperage, where let's say a set value of 450 amps, and we are going over that and above that, that could also be an overload shutdown. Different genset controls have different shutdowns, and there's you can have different sensors added on as just optional features and checks. So when they build units that are maybe at our hospitals and data centers, they are fully loaded with all the bells and whistles, all the alarms, shutdowns, and safety checks, over designed by battery charging capacities, where a smaller unit, like at a firehouse, that's a replacement, that's not going through all the engineered specs, is going to be more of a trimmed down machine that will produce all the power, but with a little bit less of the bells and whistles. But I believe most of the shutdowns that are on the units, that there is a base level that UL puts out there that are required. And then the above and beyond are additional warnings and shutdowns that can be added to the units, that if the engineers want that in there, in that genset spec.
Okay, because I did notice, and I knew it had to be something else, not just that circuit breaker, far as the load, because I even witnessed load bank testing. And with the load bank testing, they would load that generator up to its full capacity just to see if any of those any other device would shut that breaker down before it reached this full capacity. So yeah, I just wanted to get a clear understanding of that inherent design and what does that really mean. I know it's a part of the generator that cannot be changed, but what exactly does that mean far as the National Electric Code? So that was my question. I appreciate your answer.
All right, Rob. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we love full load tests. That's something we want to show people, that ours can do full load and let it sit all day long. Our service guys, when they go out and there's an issue with a unit, they put a load bank on them and they full load test to show that it's got all the fuel it needs, and this is exactly what it's capable of doing. And yep, that's great.
Excuse me, too, George. What UL standard are they tested to? Do you know the UL standard number?
Let me see if I can pull up one of our cut sheets here. Let's see if these make any sense to you. So I believe it's 1008. I know the transfer switches are UL 1008.
Yes, the transfer switch. I remember them. There, yeah, on the right. Come on, scroll up a little bit more, please. Yeah, right there it says all miles listed. That's the transfer switch. It's the 1008. But now let's look at for the genset.
Yeah, this is a standby generator. Code compliance. There's UL 220. I can find
that UL. Yeah,
I'm right here.
2200.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's I mean, Kohlers and Generacs. We all have to comply to that. We're going to sell in the United States. Yeah.
Right.
And same with EPA standards. We all have to meet that.
Okay.
All right. Well, George, thank you. I'm not sure if you were prepared for that level of questioning from our
Sure.
sector friends, but you held your own pretty well, my friend.
I'm smarter now. I'm smarter because of it. So thank you, Ernest and Ralph.
I always learn with these guys as well. We don't see any more questions in the chat. So with that, George, thank you so much for your time today, for your presentation. Clearly, this is a very, very big topic, as you alluded to earlier. Sales are on the rise. And so we appreciate this in your time. Once again, Billows, thank you so much for your sponsorship and continued support of the association. So with that, everyone, have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.